Welcome to the 707, a weekly half-hour program produced by KRCB, a service of NorCal Public Media. The 707 features voices and stories from your community, stories about our agricultural past and present, and stories that show how we are connected to each other. I'm your host, Michelle Marques. Each weekend from August through October, a group of people meet at a shed in Sebastopol to press hundreds of pounds of apples into juice.
So now one of our skilled volunteers is turning the screw here, which will press the plate, which will compress the chopped up apples, and you'll be able to see, maybe even hear, the apple juice pouring out into this bucket. These are Gravenstein apples. And so here you might capture that sound.
That's Bob, one of the volunteers with Slow Food Russian River who helps run the Community Apple Press at Luther Burbank's Gold Ridge Experiment Farm. Here's Paula Shatkin, who recently retired from Slow Food Russian River's board of directors and now focuses on their apple project.
Slow Food Russian River is a chapter of Slow Food USA and Slow Food International. This chapter was started to cover West County, really, and it's about biodiversity and working towards educating the public in our community about what biodiversity is and why we need it. And my husband and I moved up here in about 1999, 2000, and we were driving around in our beautiful community and seeing all these apple orchards chopped down. So we went to a meeting of people who in the community who were starting to worry about the orchards coming down, the trees coming down, and people planting grapes everywhere. And I raised my hand and I said, gee, we should do something about that. And somebody told me I should. Somebody said, why don't you? It's a famous part of my story. So we started a chapter.
Shatkin invited me to her home in Occidental to talk about the state of apples in Sonoma County. Slow Food Russian River decided to focus on protecting an apple with a lot of heritage in our region, the Gravenstein apple. It's an early harvest fruit, great for pies, sauces, and juice, but it doesn't ship well.
They really do need to be saved, and it's really a big part of Sebastopol, Sonoma County, a great history. The Gravenstein Fair has been around forever. And we don't want to lose them. But we learned early on that you can't just save the Gravensteins. Nobody makes a living on just Gravensteins. So most of the people who actually farm apples have Gravensteins, which are the first apple, and then they have late season apples. I have late season apples here in my field. And so then we realized we had to reach out to everybody who grew apples, not just Gravensteins, and that's what we did.
In 2003, the Slow Food Foundation for Biodiversity designated the Gravenstein apple as one of the Presidia products for our area. Presidia is a Latin word meaning fortress. There are nearly 700 Presidia around the world, small-scale food productions of traditional and artisanal products with cultural significance that are at risk of disappearing. Slow Food Russian River uses community outreach, marketing, and events to protect the Gravenstein. Shatkin says one of their most popular services is the free community apple press.
We got a grant partly from the city of Sebastopol to buy this press. And we decided to have a free community apple press so that people would understand what's going on and how hard that is now for people to use their backyard apples. And
was this an existing apple press?
No. In fact, there's no apple press in the whole country. Free community apple press. We are it.
Did you have to purchase it? Did you build it? How did the apple press come to be?
We are at Luther Burbank. The people who manage Luther Burbank let us have a spot. One of our members built a shed, and two of our members drove to some other state to buy this press new, and we ordered it. And they were making it for us, and the city of Sebastopol gave us a grant to help us purchase it.
And how many years has it been operational?
Just about 20. And we press about 50,000 pounds of apples a season. People sign up for a spot, 20-minute spot. They can bring about 100 ish pounds of apples. After you press the apples, the juice comes out. It's electric. At the end, there's something called pomace left. You know what that is, okay. And so then we have somebody, it used to be me, but now we have somebody else who arranges for farmers to come and pick up the pomace at the end of Saturday and the end of Sunday to feed it to their pigs, their sheep, their goats.
There's no waste in the process. The pomace, which is the leftover apple solids, can feed local livestock. The Free Community Press is operated by about 12 to 15 volunteers each day during the season. It's just one part of Sonoma County's apple story. Andrew Smith is the Agricultural Commissioner and Sealer of Weights and Measures for the County of Sonoma, who says our annual acreage of apples is about 2,000 acres, and it's been that size for at least the last 10 years.
Probably the heyday was right before World War II. There was about 15 to 16,000 acres between 1936 and 1937, 38. And then after World War II, you had a lot of water infrastructure development and agricultural growth in the U.S. in general, and that really kind of made Washington State more of an apple producing region in the U.S. More water storage really led to that market to explode, and a lot more processors up there, and packing houses.
And sort of that leads right into what's happened here. Like we are seeing our last major processor leave with Manzana.
Yeah.
And without a processor, it makes it harder to grow a crop like apples.
Yeah, with a acreage so small as ours compared to the acreage in the Pacific Northwest, as well as the cultivation and production methodologies, you have high density spindle and super spindle apples up there where there's a very, very much larger density of stems per acre or hectare. There was a very large number of apples coming to Manzana from the Pacific Northwest that were basically in cold storage from the previous year's fresh market harvest. What wasn't getting sold into grocery stores and distributed throughout the U.S. from the Pacific Northwest was getting trucked down here the following year to get processed into vinegars, sauces, etc.
Smith is referring to Manzana Products, an apple processing company based in Sebastopol, which has been in operation since 1922. In February of 2024, Manzana announced it would be moving operations to Washington State. The move has been delayed a few times, but the likely end of local operations will be in 2027. In response, a local grower is opening an apple processing facility in Santa Rosa. Brooke Hazen is the owner of Gold Ridge Organic Farms.
At first, I was waiting for someone else to step up and make something happen, but nobody stepped up. So ultimately, I decided someone had to, and it was going to be myself, along with Gold Ridge Organic Farms with my staff, to do this. And we want to rebuild that vision that we had 150 years ago when Luther Burbank and Nathaniel Griffith decided to choose the Gravenstein amongst other apples here in Sonoma County and other apples in Santa Cruz, the Newtown Pippin, and other apple varieties. There's lots of different apple varieties, but primarily the Gravenstein's well known, and that's something we're familiar with. But they chose that apple because it offered primarily fresh use, but also multi-purpose beyond the fresh use. And we've really lost that. The industry is really flailing for decades now, and this is just the last death throes unless we can preserve it and revitalize it. And that's our goal. We do not want to lose this 150-year-old, one of the longest standing agricultural heritages in California. We don't want to lose it. And that's what we're facing next year with Manzana moving up. That's the last remaining processing facility that has stood out the longest. So we owe kudos to them. They tried their hardest, but they're going to Washington State, and Santa Cruz is facing imminent threats this year with Martinelli contracts not being renewed.
Hazen says the conditions in Sonoma County make it ideal for growing apples.
We believe in the high quality of the apples here in Sonoma County, that they're both cool coastal influence, which means that it has very high color, very nuanced flavors, and textures that you can't express usually in hotter environments. Plus, a lot of these orchards are dry farms, so they're essentially reduced on the tree with their flavors. So we have sort of a double whammy reason why this apple industry is so undervalued.
Hazen says there's a sense of urgency to opening a new apple processing facility.
But right now it's integral that we get the word out because people are pulling out orchards in Sonoma County still, apple orchards, and they're pulling out apple orchards in Santa Cruz County. We have reached out to Santa Cruz County too, just to capture any growers that have given up hope and are ready to pull their apples out. There's been a lot of pressure for people to pull out, like in Santa Cruz, the strawberry is pressure. In Sonoma County, the grape is pressure, but the pressure is alleviated with grapes here. And so I do feel like we're at a turning point where I think it's time to revitalize those crops that have been overlooked because of the grape. And now that pressure is alleviating and subsiding, we can now be able to turn the corner and turn the page on the story of the apple in Sonoma County.
In the next segment of the 707, we'll follow the story of the apple to Hazen's new apple processing facility in an industrial section of Santa Rosa. This is the 707 on KRCB.
KRCB is Sonoma County's NPR station, featuring the voices, sounds, and culture that make our home unique. From the heartwarming tales of postcards,
our grandmother was the founder of Juneteenth in Sonoma County,
to the Arts Briefs series shining a spotlight on the incredible youth in the arts scene.
Mariachi can express everything that you feel.
And farm tales.
We live in this beautiful area that allows all forms of success in agriculture.
Your stories, your station. KRCB 104.9, Sonoma County's NPR station.
Welcome back to the 707 on KRCB. I'm your host, Michelle Marques. I'm touring an industrial building in the northern section of Santa Rosa with Marilee Olson, Managing Director of Gold Ridge Organic Farms Heritage Apples.
So it's a 20,000 square foot facility, which I already think is too small, but we're going to make this work. We're going to go right in here. The lights will turn on.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is fun. It's a lot of clean walls and stainless steel, right?
The building has lots of rooms, including this one where the apples will be pressed and the juice can be cooked down into syrup.
In here is where the fresh pack line. So as important to this mission of preserving our area farms, making sure that they remain for years and years and years to come. Juice is a part of it, but more important is getting people familiar again with the far better quality of our apples grown here in our backyard as opposed to the stuff that's getting trucked down from Washington, let alone shipped in from Peru or China. I mean, our apples are incredible. Our growing area is perfect for apples. The apples here, they're smaller, but they're not full of water, so they're full of a lot more flavor. We're really going to be working very hard on getting consumers educated about the better quality of our area apples and getting those apples into the hands of consumers through partner retailers who recognize how important small family farms and local food systems are.
So what kinds of apples will be coming through here? We're familiar with the Gravenstein, but what else?
Yeah. We also have a lot of Golden Delicious around here. We have Jonna Golds, which are good. We have Pippins down south, down in Watsonville area. Pippins are one of my favorite apples. I prefer tart apples to sweet apples. We've got Rome Beauties. Those are great more for juice and pressing. We've got a whole lot of heirloom varieties that people don't even know about. I mean, at Gold Ridge, we were really thrilled about this strawberry parfait apple, which we sold at the Gravenstein Fair, and people are beginning to get familiar. That juice is like almost neon pink all by itself. It's crazy.
Olson walks us over to big empty rooms waiting for apples.
Well, this is one of the coolers.
Gosh, this is gigantic space.
This is the smaller.
This is the smaller one. As we look at the space and hear our voices echo off the walls, Olson talks about the situation for apple farmers today.
The grapes made farmers money, and farmers are business people. They've got to make money. But now, with changing preferences with the younger generation, people might not drink alcohol, but they're always going to eat food, right? And apples are food. We're counting on that, and we need to build on that to bring, we probably won't get back to where it was in the 40s, but can we just at least prevent a few farmers from pulling out their orchards? Yeah. Can we do that? We'll find out.
Right. Yeah. So now is the time that you're also building relationships. So tell me about that.
So, farmers are, they're handshake people. They want to meet you. When we first knew we were going to do this, I was like, let's call a meeting and have them all come and we'll talk to them. Well, that's easy for us. Farmers aren't so eager to do that. So one by one, we're meeting with farmers and reaching out to them. Without farmers, we don't exist. And without small family farms, we don't have a healthy food system. You can't count on corporate farms to deliver healthy food. They're delivering dollars to their investors. You don't have, smaller farms are concerned about the environment. They're regenerative, they're organic. You keep money local, you keep the money in your local community. There's just so much that's better about smaller farmers, and that's why right-size processing, like what we're doing here, is so important. Yeah.
So how does this compare to, we know that Manzana is leaving. This isn't going to replace, this is a different model than what Manzana was, right?
Yeah. Manzana is huge. When you have a massive model like that, as a business, you're compelled to keep it massive, right? No matter what. And so that's behind their move to Washington. And also to keep costs down for their investors. This model is built on the premise that we are a part of this community and we want to stay a part of this community.
I round out the tour with Olson as she talks about research and development and the kinds of products that could be made from processed apples. This vision of a future where apple farmers make money from their crops, enough money to sustain and grow the industry, reminds me of the hope that I heard in my conversation with Andrew Smith, Sonoma County's agricultural commissioner.
The California Department of Food and Agriculture over the last 10 years has put more and more money into farm to schools programming and funding, and that's money paid directly to agricultural producers to build a farm to school supply chain in their commodity production. And there's no reason we couldn't find farmers in the county who could benefit from that, apply for that funding. It would require collaboration between the schools, the school districts, of which we have many, and we'd have to really get a good coordinated effort on who are going to grow those apples and where that tonnage is going to go and how it's going to make it from the farm to school lunch programs and end up in bags of sliced apples on students' trays in the lunch line. But there's no reason we couldn't do that. And that farm to school funding has the potential to fund building those supply chains. Usually farmers are the first to adopt innovative practices when it comes to climate change, when it comes to managing finite resources in water and other resources that are in demand and becoming more and more heavily regulated. But that's what I see from my perspective as an opportunity. And, it's wonderful that we have someone who's willing to prop up a processing facility. How can we do more of that with different commodities, right? Like we have a vibrant small scale vegetable production industry in the county through direct marketing, through farm markets, through community supported agriculture and box subscription programs. How can we parlay that kind of thing into building aggregator facilities or co-op wash and pack facilities and cold storage for vegetable production, not only vegetable production, but tree fruits.
Gold Ridge Organic Farms is not the only company stepping up to support the future of the apple industry. The Press Democrat recently reported that Sebastopol-based Ethics Ciders has a new partnership with Slow Food Russian River to open a commercial-grade apple press. It can handle up to a ton of apples per day and will be available to local growers and home orchardists sometime in September of 2026. The new press was made possible with funding from a $90,000 grant from the California Department of Food and Agriculture. I'm your host and producer of this program, Michelle Marques. Additional interviews by Katherine Nelson. This show is a service of NorCal Public Media. Our president and CEO is Darren Lachelle. If stories like the one you heard today matter to you, support your local public media station now at krcb.org.